Madam, you really have nothing to complain about regarding your husband for the past 3 years. Which meal hasn't been cooked by you? Your husband. Huang Ma paused mid-sentence and swallowed back her words, probably afraid of saying something that would upset me. I didn't respond, only smiled and put the pork ribs into the pot to blanch. Actually, I knew what Wang Ma was trying to say. She wants to say, how many meals has Fu Sihong as a husband eaten at home in the past 3 years? The answer is countable on one hand. In the first year, he came back occasionally and even brought me a bouquet of flowers, although those flowers obviously were bought by his secretary carelessly. At least there was some sentiment. In the second year, the times he returned grew rarer, and when he did come back, it was often midnight. He would fall asleep as soon as he lay down, and by dawn he would be gone. I could not even see his face clearly. Third year. In the third year, he simply didn't come back. Everyone knew that Fu Shi Group's president, Fu Sihong, had someone on the outside. That person is Xiao Wanqing, his university's first love. After returning from studying abroad, they reconnected. The people in the circle are laughing at me behind my back. They say Xin Yentang is a wife bought by the Fu family, just a decoration, not even as good as a vase. At least a vase can be pleasing to look at. I just pretend I don't hear it. I've poured all my thoughts into this home. I thought, as long as I'm good enough, someday he would turn back and take a look at me. Tonight, I deliberately wore the lotus pink dress he loves the most, put on light makeup, styled my hair into a bun, and wore the pearl necklace he gave me at our wedding. Although I know that necklace was chosen casually by his secretary, it's the only decent gift I've ever received from him. Dishes are being served one by one. Sweet and sour spare ribs, scallion oil yellow croaker, crab roe tofu, stir-fried vegetables, and a pot of chicken soup that simmered for 3 hours. The table is full of dishes, all color, aroma, and taste perfect. I set up 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks, opened that bottle of red wine he cherished, and sat at the dining table waiting. Aunt Wang came over to persuade me. Madam, please eat first. Don't wait any longer. And your husband, should I call him? I said, there's no need. He will come back. Today is our wedding anniversary. He should remember. Right. Time ticked by, second by second. 6.00, 7.00, 8.00, 9.00. I stared at the clock on the wall as the second hand circled round and round. The dish had cooled, so I carried it back to the kitchen and warmed it up again. It cooled again, so I heated it once more. Aunt Wang stood nearby, her eyes reddening. She said, Madam, please don't wait any longer. It's already 11.00. The gentleman won't be coming back. I didn't speak. I just stubbornly sat there. At 11.30, my phone rang. My heart skipped a beat, and I hurried to pick up the phone. It's not Fu Sihong. It was a text message from his assistant, Xiao Qin. When I opened it, it said, Madam, Mr. Fu is with Miss Xia tonight. He said he won't be coming back and to let you rest early. In that moment, I heard something shattered. Not a plate, not a bowl. It is my heart. 3 years have passed. I thought I had become numb, thought I would not feel pain again. But when I see this message, I still feel as if someone picked up a dull knife and cut my flesh. One cut after another. Not painful. It's that piercing sourness spreading from the chest to every bone and joint. I sat there dumbfounded, not moving at all. Aunt Wang came over, saw my phone screen, and trembled with anger. Too much. Too much. Madam, you wait. I'll call the master now. We can't survive like this. Aunt Wang said she was about to grab the phone. I reached out to stop her. No need. Aunt Wang. My voice was so calm that even I found it unfamiliar. I stood up and looked at the table full of dishes. The sweet and sour ribs had cooled. The fat solidified on the surface, looking like chunks of white wax. Even the big yellow croaker soup had frozen. The fish eyeballs rolled white, looking especially ironic. I suddenly remembered something my mother-in-law, Emerese, Fu Sieng, the mother of Fu Sihang, who is my mother-in-law, said to me on the first day I married into the Fu family. She said, Nian Tang, it is your good fortune to marry Sihang. You must take good care of him and not let him be wronged. At the time, I dumbly nodded and smiled, saying I would. Now thinking about it, it's utterly ridiculous. Who will take care of whom? I served him for 3 years, and not a single pleasant word did I get in return. I turned and went upstairs. Aunt Wang followed closely behind me, stomping her feet in agitation. Madam, what are you going to do? Don't think about something foolish. I told Aunt Wang to rest assured I would not do something foolish. I just had a realization. I pushed open the door to the bedroom. This bedroom, strictly speaking, is my own because since the first day of our marriage, Fu Si-chin has been sleeping in the study. He said he isn't used to sleeping with others. I believed it at the time. Now I understand it's not that he's not used to sleeping with someone else. He's not used to sleeping with me. What about Xiao Wanqing? I'm afraid he would love to be held every day. I pulled out the red suitcase I brought with me at my wedding. From the wardrobe. That was the dowry my mother gave me. They say when a girl gets married, the bride's family should accompany with a red trunk, symbolizing prosperity and brightness. Prosperous and roaring. The fire is indeed burning, but it's irritating. I started packing things into the box. Clothes, jewelry, documents, bank cards. I packed very slowly and carefully, as if I were doing something very solemn. Aunt Wang stood at the door, watching me tidy my luggage, tears dropping down with a plop. Madam, what are you doing? Are you trying to run away from home? I told Aunt Wang, I'm not running away from home. It's a divorce. When Aunt Wang heard this, she dropped to the ground with a thud and knelt there. Madam, you mustn't act on impulse. This marriage is a union between two families. If you leave, the Fu family and the Shin family. I interrupted her. Mom Wang, get up. I set the clothes I was holding down, walked over, and helped her up. I tell Mrs. Wang, in these 3 years, you've treated me the best. Treated me like your own daughter with care. I've kept it in my heart. But, Aunt Wang, I really can't go on. Aunt Wang cried. Madam, please give the husband one more chance. I'll go and call him back. He will definitely come back. I laughed. Aunt Wang, he's with Xia Wanqing tonight. Do you know who Xia Wanqing is? She was his college first love. The white moonlight he always kept in his heart. And one of my Xin Yantang. Just a daughter-in-law bought with money from his mother back then. The Fu family ran into some trouble with their business, and my father, Xin Wuliang, lent them a large sum to tide them over on the condition that I marry Fu Sahan. To put it plainly, this is a transaction. I am a bought item. I am not his Fu Sihing's wife. Aunt Wang was stunned. She probably hadn't expected me to know so much. Actually, I have known all along. I'm just pretending to be stupid. I keep packing my luggage, putting the last few belongings into the suitcase and zipping it up. I look around this bedroom, the place I've lived in for 3 years, and there aren't many traces that belong to me. There isn't a single photo on the wall. There are no gifts from him on the dressing table, and even the nightstand only has my own books. This home has never belonged to me. I dragged my suitcase down the stairs. Aunt Wang chased after me, crying uncontrollably. I walked to the doorway, changed my shoes, and turned my head to look at Aunt Wang. I told Aunt Wang, please help me pour the dishes on that kitchen table. Don't keep it. It's so gross. Aunt Wang asked, Madam, where are you going? I said, first to the hotel. Tomorrow to find a lawyer. After I finished speaking, I pulled the door open and walked into the night with my suitcase. Aunt Wang stood at the doorway, crying and calling out to me. I did not look back. The gate of this villa slowly closed behind me with a heavy thud. It was as if the last nail had been hammered into this marriage of mine. The street at 3.00 in the middle of the night is deserted, and the streetlights stretch my shadow very long. I dragged my suitcase along the road. and the sound of high heels is unusually clear in the quiet night. I did not cry, not a single tear. 3 years of tears have dried up. What remains is only disgust. I take out my phone and send a message to my dad. Dad, I want a divorce. Help me find a lawyer. Within 3 seconds of sending the message, my dad's call came in. He didn't ask anything, only said, "Okay, I'll find you the best lawyer." Dad, after hanging up, I took a deep breath. The early morning air was cool, but I felt more awake than I ever had. Fu Siheng, who do you think you are? Do you think I'll stand here waiting for you to turn back? Dream on. I Xian Yentong. Starting today, will no longer serve you. Chapter 2. The Truth. 2 weeks later, Fu Siheng hasn't gone home for a full half-month. During this half-month, he had been staying with Xiao Wanqing and hadn't sent a single message to Xian Yentong. He had even forgotten that Xian Yentong was a contact in his phone. Today, he came out of the company and planned to go directly to Xia Wanqing's villa. While driving halfway, Xia Wanqing called, her voice playfully sweet. "Siheng, you should come a little earlier today. I simmered your favorite white fungus soup." Fu Siheng's lips curved a little. "Okay, I'll be there soon." After hanging up, for some reason he didn't understand, he turned the steering wheel and drove back to his villa that he hadn't stepped into for half a month. Maybe it's to come back and grab a few outfits to change into. Maybe he wants to see where the household financial statements are stored. He couldn't say why. The car stopped at the villa gate. Fu Siheng got out and opened the door. The entryway was very quiet. Even the slippers arranged on the shoe cabinet were neatly aligned, clearly showing that no one had touched them for a long time. Fu Siheng frowned and called inside. "Nian Tong." No one answered. He called again. "Aunt Wang." Still no answer. The entire villa was silent, like an empty house. Fu Siheng felt a bit uneasy and changed his shoes before walking in. The living room was cleaned up very neatly, but there was an envelope on the coffee table. On the white envelope were 3 characters. For Fu Siheng, he recognized the handwriting of Shen Yentong's. He walked over, picked up the envelope, and unfolded it. There is only one key and a note. The note says, "The divorce agreement is in the safe in your study. Sign it and mail it back to me. The key belongs to the villa. I'll return it to you." Fu Siheng stared at the note for a few seconds. Divorce. He let out a cold laugh. What is Shen Yentong throwing a tantrum about? Isn't it just that he hasn't gone home for half a month? It isn't that it hasn't happened before. Every time, she would obediently stay at home waiting. Right. This time she has learned to throw a fit. He crumpled the note into a ball and threw it into the trash can, then took the keys and went upstairs. He pushed open the bedroom door and froze in place. The bedroom was emptier than before. Shen Yentong's dressing table was clean and orderly, and all the bottles and jars were gone. In the wardrobe, half of her closet was empty. Not a single piece of clothing left. The book she used to read on the bedside table was also gone without a trace. The whole room looked as if she had never existed at all. Fu Siheng frowned, pulled out his phone, and called Shen Yentong. A robotic female voice came from the other end. "The number you have dialed has been disconnected." Disconnected. He put away his phone and went downstairs to look for Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang wasn't in the kitchen, wasn't in the yard. He searched the entire house, but couldn't find her. Finally, he found Wang Ma beside the small flower bed in the yard, crouched there watering flowers, her face calm to the point of becoming almost too calm. Fu Siheng walked over. "Wang Ma, where is Madam?" Wang Ma slowly stood up, turning to look at him, her eyes carrying a strange something in it. Didn't seem like respect, more like pity. Aunt Wang said, "Sir, you have finally come back." Fu Siheng was a little impatient. "I asked where your wife went." Aunt Wang wiped her hands and spoke slowly. "Well, Madam, the night you stayed at Miss Xia's house half a month ago, Madam left." Fu Siheng was stunned for a moment. "Left? Went where?" Aunt Wang said, "I don't know about this. Madam didn't tell me. I only know that night at midnight, Madam dragged a suitcase out of this door and never came back again. Fu Si Hang's expression changed, and his tone grew solemn. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Aunt Wang looked at him and suddenly smiled. That smile carried a hint of ridicule, an expression a nanny shouldn't show to her employer. Sir, haven't you separated/divorced? Fu Si Hang was choked by these words. He opened his mouth as if to say, who said they were getting a divorce? But the words welled up and he swallowed them back. He remembered the words on that note. The divorce. The agreement is in the safe in your study. Auntie Wang continued, Sir, I followed your wife for 3 years, watching how hard she has worried about you when you were not at home. Every day she cooked for you in various ways, even if you never came back to eat. She remembers all the dishes you love and all the things you dislike. In these 3 years, how many meals have you had at home? How many kind words have you spoken to your wife? Have you stayed with her for a night when she was ill? Fu Si Hang's expression grew uglier. Auntie Wang, are you scolding me? Auntie Wang said, No, I'm not brave enough to scold you. Sir, I'm just a humble servant, not qualified to scold you. I'm just standing up for your wife. She reached into her pocket, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to Fu Si Hang. Sir, this is the alimony you gave me last month telling me not to tell your wife she left. I am returning it to you intact now. Fu Si Han looked at that envelope, his pupils suddenly shrinking. What did you say? Aunt Wang said, that night your wife left. Didn't you have your assistant Xiao Qin transfer 30.000 yuan to me telling me not to tell you that your wife ran away from home? You even asked me to pretend your wife was still at home, saying she had gone to her maiden family. Sir, you're really cruel in this act. As soon as your wife left, you were already thinking about how to hide the news, afraid that others would know your wife doesn't want you. Right. Fu Si Han's face tourned pale. He did have Xiao Qin transfer the money to Aunt Wang and did have Aunt Wang hide the fact that Shen Yen Tang left home. But that was because he thought Shan Yen Tang was just throwing a tantrum and would come back in a few days. He didn't want the public to know that something like this had happened at the Fu family because it would affect the company's stock price. But he hadn't expected that half a month had passed and Shan Yen Tang really hadn't come back. And from what Madame Wang implied, Shen Yen Tang had known on the night he left. No, that's not right. He didn't know at that time that Shen Yen Tang had left. He asked his assistant to transfer money to Madame Wang, because that night he was with Xiao Wanqing and Shen Yen Tang sent a message saying, Let's get a divorce. He casually threw his phone aside and paid no attention. The next day, he told the assistant to handle it, meaning to ask the assistant to pacify Shan Yen Tang and not let her cause trouble. But how could the assistant Fu Si Han suddenly pulled out his phone and dialed assistant Xiao Qin? When the call connected, he asked bluntly, I asked you to appease my wife. What do you mean by transferring money to Grandma Wang? On the other end, Xiao Chen's voice sounded a bit flustered. Mr. Fu, when you said you wanted to handle the matter of my wife's threat to divorce, I thought you wanted to hide the news. So you acted on your own authority. Sorry, President Fu. I'll go find where your wife went immediately. Fu Siqing hung up the phone, chest tightening with a heaviness he couldn't rise above or lower. Mama Wang stood to the side, a blank look on her face as she watched him. She said, Sir, the night your wife left was our 3rd wedding anniversary. Do you know how many dishes she cooked? 6 dishes and a soup. All of them your favorites. She waited from 6.00 in the evening until 2.00 in the morning, reheating the dishes 3 or 4 times. In the end, what she got was a text from your assistant saying you were with Miss Xia and wouldn't be coming back. Aunt Wang's voice trembled, not with fear, but with anger. Sir, I am not afraid of you firing me, either. I've held these words in for 3 years. Madam is a good woman. You do not deserve her. After speaking, Aunt Wang placed the water bottle on the floor, took off her apron, and turned to walk into the house. After 2 steps, She stopped again, not turning around, and said, "I've left the apron in the kitchen. You can just transfer my salary to the card. As for this month's wages, you don't have to pay me. Consider it me paying you back the 30.000 yuan to keep your mouth shut on behalf of Madam. Aunt Wang has left." Only Fu Si-chang remained in the courtyard. He stood there, clutching the envelope that Aunt Wang had returned, his mind a jumbled mess. Did Shen Tong leave? Has he really left? He suddenly remembered something, strode into the study, and opened the safe. In the safe, a few documents were neatly arranged, the topmost being a divorce agreement. He picked it up and glanced at the date, which clearly read on a certain day, 3 years ago. In other words, this divorce agreement was signed by Shen Tong 3 years ago. Fu Si-chang opened the agreement. On the last page, Shen Tong's signature was graceful and neat, and next to the signature, there was a line of small characters. The handwriting had faded somewhat, but was still clearly legible. The line reads, "Fu Si-hong, I will give you 3 years. If after 3 years you still can't forget Xiaowanting, I'll let you go." Fu Si-hong's hand trembled suddenly, and the divorce agreement sheet drifts onto the floor. He crouches down to pick it up, but her hand just touched the paper and then stopped again. 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Was she already prepared to let go during these 3 years? Every day she cooked, waited for him, endured his indifference, all in order to give him a chance. A vague, indescribable emotion suddenly welled up in Fu Si-hong's heart. It wasn't care, it wasn't regret, it was a kind of panic he had never felt before. It's as if you had always believed that star in the sky would stay there forever. You never looked up at it and even despised its light for being too faint. One day, you suddenly look up and find that that star is gone. It got dark, completely dark. Fu Si-hong grabbed his phone and started dialing Shen Tong's number frantically. Still powered off. She calls her best friend, but the line is off. Calls to her family home go unanswered. He has his assistant look up her whereabouts. The assistant says all obtainable information shows Shen Tong left the city 2 weeks ago. Whereabouts unknown. Fu Si-hong sat down on the floor of the study, back against the bookshelf, staring blankly at the divorce agreement in his hand. Rain started to fall outside at some unknown time. Raindrops tapping on the glass with a pattering sound. Just like that night when Shen Tong dragged her suitcase and left. The sound of high heels striking the ground. Message by message. It struck his heart. Chapter 3. Driving crazy to find her. Fu Si-hong didn't sleep all night. He sat on the floor of the study, going through everything about Shen Tong on his phone. Photos. After flipping through for a long time, there were only a few wedding photos taken by others in the album and not a single photo taken of her alone. Chat logs. Scroll up. It's all him saying, "I won't be back tonight." Over time, something came up, occasionally replying with a "moro." And the messages he opened most were sent by Shen Tong. "Come back for dinner today. Be careful on the way. Good night." Under every message, there was a long wait for a reply. There was a message. She sent it, and it took him 3 or 4 days to reply. The hand holding his phone began to tremble. Early the next morning, Fu Si-hong rushed out of the house, driving around the city to find her. He went to all of Shin Yentong's friends' houses, and none of them knew her. He went to the mall she frequented, and the security guard said her last visit was 2 weeks ago, when she bought a suitcase. He went to her favorite cafe, and the staff said that the last time she came, she was alone, sitting by the window, crying for half an hour before leaving. Fu Si-hong stood at the cafe door, the image of Shin Tong crying flashing through his mind, but he could not recall what it looked like when she cried, because he had never looked at her seriously. In these 3 years, how many times has he looked at her with real attention? He searches his memory hard, but can only recall a vague silhouette. What color are her eyes? Does she have dimples on her face? What does she look like when she smiles? He can't remember anything. He doesn't even know what her favorite dish is, what color clothes she likes to wear, or what kind of books she likes to read. He knew nothing. 3 days had passed, and Fu Xiang had looked all over the city, but not even Xin Yentong's shadow could be found. She seemed to have evaporated from the world. None of the surveillance cameras could locate her, and all of the expenditure records stopped half a month ago. Fu Xiang began to panic. He had the company's HR, legal, and public relations departments all mobilized to search, and even hired a private detective. All results are all the same, unable to find them. Xin Yentong seemed to have prepared long ago. Her ID card, bank card, and phone number were all deactivated, and all social accounts were canceled. She left completely, not a single strand of hair left behind. That night, Fu Xiang sat in the study. In front of him, the divorce agreement Xin Yentong had left, which he had read countless times. The living room door suddenly swung open, and the sound of high heels echoed. "Si Hung, are you home? Xia Wanqing has arrived." She was wearing a red strap dress, carrying a thermal bag in her hand, and walked into the study with a bright smile. "Si Hung, why haven't you been coming to see me lately? I've called you many times and you didn't answer, so I came by myself. I made you pork rib soup and you should drink it while it's hot." Fu Siheng looked up at her, his eyes lacking the usual gentleness, only annoyance. "What are you doing here?" Xia Wanqing pouted, acting cute. "I've missed you. It's been 3 days since you came to see me. I thought you didn't want me anymore." She walked over, trying to place the insulated bag on the desk, and her eyes swept to the divorce agreement on the desk, the smile on her face stiffening for a moment. "What is this? A divorce agreement? Shen Yen Tang wants to divorce you." There was a hint of uncontainable excitement in Xia Wanqing's tone, but she quickly suppressed it, replacing it with a worried expression. "Si Hung, why would she suddenly want a divorce? Aren't you two doing well?" Fu Siheng didn't say a word, folding the divorce agreement and slipping it into the drawer. Xia Wanqing crept up behind him, her hands resting on his shoulders, her chin nestled in the crook of his neck, her voice soft like cotton candy. "Si Hung, actually, it's fine if she's gone. This marriage of yours was arranged by the two families anyway, and you don't love her. Now that she's left on her own, isn't that for the best? We can be together openly and honestly." Fu Siheng's body stiffened. Xia Wanqing continued, "I thought she had more backbone. She played the virtuous wife and mother in the circle for 3 years, and in the end she still walked away in a rush. Do you think she's seeing someone else outside? That's why. Enough." Fu Siheng suddenly stood up and shook off Xia Wanqing's hand. Xia Wanqing was startled by his sudden action, took 2 steps back, and almost toppled over. "Si Hung, what are you doing? You hurt me." Fu Si Hung turned to look at her, his eyes filled with bloodshot lines, and his voice was so low it was frightening. "Wanqing, I want to ask you something." Xiao Wanqing was scared by his expression and cautiously asked, What is it? When did our relationship start?" Xiao Wanqing paused, not understanding why he suddenly asked this. "Well, about 2 years ago, I came back from studying abroad and we reconnected at a classmates' gathering. And then, back then, I knew Shen Yen Tang was already my wife." "Right." Xiao Wanqing opened her mouth but didn't utter a word. Fu Si Hung continued, "I know you are my first love, and I admit I have feelings for you. But Wanqing, you know very well that I am married, yet you still come to me. What are you after?" Xiao Wanqing's face darkened and her voice turned sharp. "Fu Si Hung, what do you mean? Are you saying I deliberately seduced you? You came to me to reconcile yourself. You say you don't love Xin Yen Tang. You say you never forgot me. Now you're turning around and blaming me." Fu Si Hung fell silent. She was right. He was the one who sought her first. He was the one who first said, "I still can't forget you." He was the one who kept giving Xiao Wanqing hope. But now, when he realizes that Shen Yen Tang has really left, and when he sees the divorce agreement that was signed 3 years ago. His heart becomes tangled into a mess. He doesn't know whether he truly loves Xin Yan Tang or not. He isn't even sure whether he has ever loved Xiao Wanqing. All he can think about now is the image of Shan Yan Tang dragging her suitcase into the night. He wants to know where she has gone. He wants to know whether she cried. He wants to know whether she regrets it. Xiao Wanqing watched Fu Siheng's absent-minded expression, and his heart felt as if pricked by needles. She was already with Fu Siheng since their first year in college, back when they were everyone's golden couple. Later, the Fu family's business ran into trouble, and his mother insisted he marry the daughter of the Xin family. She was forced to study abroad, crying alone in a foreign land for a year. After finally waiting for Fu Siheng to actively come to her for a reconciliation, she thought she had finally found the day when love would blossom and bear fruit. But now, what's up with Fu Sicheng's expression? Is he worried about Xin Yan Tang? Xiao Wanqing took a deep breath, pulled back her emotions, and put on a gentle expression again. Sicheng, I'm sorry. I spoke too harshly just now. I know you're in a bad mood. I shouldn't argue with you. She walked over, wanting to take his arm. Fu Siheng dodged away. He said, Wanqing, you go back first. I want to be alone for a while. Xiao Wanqing bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes. Siheng, have you fallen for her? Fu Siheng did not answer. Tears finally fell from Xiao Wanqing's eyes. I waited for you for so many years. For you. I gave up a bright future to return to our country. You said you had no feelings for her. You said staying at home felt like a prison. But now that she's gone, why are you in this state? Fu Siheng closed his eyes, his voice tired. Wanqing, I beg you to go back first. Please. Xiao Wanqing looked at him, took a deep breath, and turned to leave. She reached the door, stopped, and without turning her head, said, Fu Siheng, I'm waiting for you. Don't forget what you owe me. You'll never be able to repay in this lifetime. The door slammed shut. Fu Siheng sits alone in the study, the surrounding silence terrifying. He opened the drawer and took out the divorce agreement again, flipping through it page by page. He flipped to the last page and stared at the small line of handwriting written by Shen Yan Tang for a long time. Fu Siheng, I give you 3 years. If after 3 years you still can't forget, Xiao Wanqing, I'll let you go. 3 years. Today is the 15th day after our 3rd wedding anniversary. He was 15 days late. No, he was late for a full 3 years. Fu Siheng buried his face in his hands, and his shoulders began to tremble slightly. He didn't know why he was crying. He clearly doesn't love Shen Tong. Does he? Then why does that feeling of loss, like a knife, keep gnawing away at his heart little by little? Chapter 4. The Vanished Divorce Agreement. Fu Siheng slimmed down overnight. When his assistant Xiaochen came to deliver the documents, he was startled by how he looked. When did the boss become this haggard? Fu Sichin hadn't shaved for 3 days. The skin under his eyes was bluish and tired. The shirt hung loosely and was wrinkled on his body, and his hair was a mess like a bird's nest. Xiaochen carefully placed the file on the table. Mr. Fu, this is the surveillance report on Miss Shen Tong's whereabouts that you asked for, but we still found nothing. Fu Siheng raised his head, his eyes bloodshot. Nothing gained. What's the use of me keeping you people? Not a single person can be found. Xiaochen shrunk his neck. Mr. Fu, we have used all resources, including help from friends in the public security system, to investigate. Miss Chen's ID card, bank card, and SIM card have all been shut down with no usage records. She also did not take a plane, train, or long-distance bus, all out of city. Surveillance has been checked, and there is no trace of her. Then keep searching. Fu Siheng pounded the table. Dig 3 feet into the ground to find her for me. Xiaochen trembled in fear. Yes, I will handle it immediately. Xiaochen turned to leave, but Fu Siheng called him back. Wait, that night, What happened with the money you sent to Wang Ma? Explain it to me, clearly. All of it. Xiao Chen forced himself to speak. President Fu, it's like this. My wife sent you a message that night saying, let's get a divorce. You were over at Miss Xia's place. You threw your phone to me and said, take care of it. Don't let her make trouble. I called my wife, but she didn't answer. Later I saw a message from Wang Ma saying the wife had left. I acted on my own and transferred money to Wang Ma to keep it under wraps for the time being. I'm sorry, President Fu. I didn't think it through. Fu Sihong suddenly stood up, grabbed Xiao Chen by the collar. She left, and you didn't tell me. Are you out of your mind? Xiao Chen turned pale with fright. Mr. Fu, I thought you knew. I thought the divorce rumors were discussed with you, and you didn't even ask about Mrs. Fu at the time. You were over at Miss Xia's place the whole time during that period. Fu Saif released his grip, and Xiao Qin staggered a couple of steps. He sank back into the chair dejectedly and waved his hand. Get out. Xiao Qin tumbled and crawled away. Fu Sihong shut his eyes, his mind buzzing. Yes, he had been by Xiao Wanqing's side all along during that period. He hadn't bothered to glance at Shi Yentong's news even once. He was so confidently convinced that no matter how he treated her, she would wait for him right there. And now a person has left, and he doesn't even know where to look for him. Fu Sihong took a deep breath, reopened the safe, and planned to take out the divorce agreement to read it again. But at the moment the safe opened, he froze. The divorce agreement was missing. The file that was originally in the safe had been swapped for another contract. He flipped through the safe as if driven mad, then turned over every drawer in the study. Nowhere at all. The divorce agreement that Shi Yentong had signed had vanished into thin air. Who took it? Aunt Wang. Aunt Wang has already left, and she doesn't know the safe code. Only 2 people in the house know the safe code, him and Shi Yentong. Shi Yentong has been gone for half a month. She couldn't possibly have come back to take it. That is to say, Fu Sihong suddenly thought of something, rushed downstairs and opened the living room surveillance footage. The surveillance footage showed that just last night a woman walked into his study, stayed for about 10 minutes, and then left. The woman was wearing a black trench coat, a hat, and a mask, so her face could not be seen clearly. But Fu Sihong immediately recognized that the person was Xiao Wanqing. He went out once last night, and the door at home wasn't locked. After Xiao Wanqing left, she turned back again. She took away the divorce agreement. Fu Sihong's hand clenched into a fist, the finger joints clicking. He dialed Xiao Wanqing's phone number. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered, and Xiao Wanqing's voice was sweet with a honeyed tone. Sihong, you finally called me first. I miss you so much. Fu Sihong suppressed his rising anger. Wanqing, I ask you, is the divorce agreement in the study safe deposit box something you took away? There was a few seconds of silence on the line. What divorce agreement? I don't know anything about it. The surveillance captured you. Wanqing, stop pretending. Give me back the agreement. Xiao Wanqing's voice changed, turning icy. Give it back to you. Fu Sihong, what do you want that divorce agreement for? Do you want to win her back? Are you crazy? When she was around, you wouldn't even look at her. And now that she's gone, you chase after her and run after her. That's my business. Return the contract to me. Torn it. Xiao Wanqing's voice was light as a feather. I took it last night. After reading it, I found your attitude toward her problematic. So I tore it. So, you want to sue me? Fu Sihong trembled with anger. Xiao Wanqing, you Fu Sihong, I'll tell you. Shin Yentong has already left. Torn or not, she's gone. If you truly want a divorce, draft a new contract and mail it to her. If you don't want a divorce, you don't need that contract at all. What exactly do you want to do? What do I want to do? I want to be with you. Sihong. Xiao Wanqing's voice suddenly softened again. I've waited for you for so many years. You can't treat me like this. Shin Yentong left on her own. It's none of my business. Why go after a woman who doesn't want you? Fu Sihong hung up the phone. He closed his eyes, leaned against the wall, and his chest rose and fell violently. Xiao Wanqing is right. Whether the agreement is torn or not, Xin Yan Tang has already left. But there is a line on that agreement. Something she wrote 3 years ago. That was the last thing she left for him. Now, that message is gone as well. Fu Sihong suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest, as if someone had reached into his chest, grabbing his heart and crushing it hard. He crouched on the ground, gasping for air in large gulps. A scene suddenly flashed through his mind. That was 3 months ago, when he rarely went home. Shen Yen Tang was sitting on the sofa reading when he heard the door, and he looked up, his eyes brightening for a moment. "You're back. Have you eaten? I'll go heat it up for you." What did he say at that time? He said, "No need. I've eaten outside." Then he went upstairs without looking back. When he reached the corner of the stairs, he glanced with the corner of his eye. Shen Yentang was still sitting on the sofa, gripping the book in his hand, his head bowed. A single tear fell onto the page, spreading a small water stain. He saw it at the time, but he chose to ignore it, because he felt it was her own doing. He had never made her wait for him. She chose to wait. Only now does he realize that he was wrong, ridiculously wrong. Fu Sihong's phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. He almost reflexively answered. "Hello, Nian Tang." A man's voice came through the phone. "Mr. Fu Sihong." Fu Sihong's heart sank. "Who are you?" "I am the lawyer of Ms. Shen Yen Tang. My surname is Zhou. Ms. Shen Yen Tang has entrusted me to handle her divorce from you completely. Please have the relevant materials ready soon, Mr. Fu, so we can process the procedures as quickly as possible." Fu Sihong's voice was shaking. "Where is she? Let me talk to her." Lawyer Zhou said, "Sorry, Mr. Fu. Ms. Xin Yentang is not available to take calls at the moment. I will relay all matters on her behalf. You tell her I won't divorce." Lawyer Zhou's tone was as calm as reading from a textbook. "Mr. Fu, divorce is a mess. Xin Yantang's personal will and does not require your consent, according to the marriage law. If a couple has lived apart for more than 2 years due to a breakdown in the relationship, the court may grant a divorce. Although you and Ms. Xin Yantang live under the same roof, you have been living apart for more than 2 years, and Ms. Xin Yantang has sufficient evidence to prove that the marital relationship has completely broken down." Fu Sihong was stunned. More than 2 years apart. Yes, he really has never shared a bed with her. From the first year of marriage, he slept in the study. She actually kept this as evidence as well. Had she been preparing for this day from the very beginning? Fu Sihong's hand holding the phone trembled. "Lawyer Zhao, I have no intention of divorcing. Please tell her to come back. We can talk this through." Lawyer Zhao said, "Mr. Fu, Ms. Xin Yantang has given you 3 years. In those 3 years, you have not valued her once. Now, please respect her decision." The call ended. Fu Sihong called again, but the phone was already off. He slumped to the ground, the phone slipping from his hand, screen facing the floor as it fell, spawning a crack. Just like his marriage, it shattered, and he slammed it himself. Chapter 5. Her new identity. 1 month later, the stock price of the Fu Group had been unstable, and several veteran shareholders on the board began putting pressure on Fu Sihong. Fu Sihong had been in a terrible state for the past month. He barely had the energy to deal with company matters, and several major projects had run into problems. Fu Sihong's mother, Zhao Guilan, called several times to scold him. "Are you crazy? Has the company given up on you? Your father handed you such a huge venture, and you're wasting it like this." Fu Sihong was vexed and distracted, and he hung up the phone. Today there is an important business gala. Almost all the city's influential figures will be in attendance. Fu Sihong originally didn't want to go, but a few old foxes on the board named him to attend, saying there was an important partner he would be introduced. Fu Sihong casually changed into a suit and drove to the hotel. The cocktail party was held at the city center's most luxurious five-star hotel. The hall was brilliantly lit, and guests mingled and toasted. Fu Six-Hang stood in the corner, holding a glass of wine, his mind wandering as he watched the people coming and going. His secretary walked over and whispered, "Director Fu, I heard a big figure is coming tonight. It seems to be the CEO of the newly established Shin Group. The Shin Group has been making waves recently, acquiring several listed companies in one go, with such strong backing that it's almost scary. It's said the cocktail party tonight is to welcome this Mr. Shin's office." Fu Six-Hang frowned. "Shin Group? Why haven't I heard of it?" The secretary said, "This group has only surfaced recently and has been operating behind the scenes. It's said the boss behind it is surnamed Shin, and it seems to have some connection with our local Shin family." Fu Six-Hang's heart gave a jolt. Surname Shin. A face of Shin Yan Tong flashed through his mind, but he shook his head again. Impossible. Although Shin Yan Tong has the surname Shin, her mother's family, Shin Guiyang, is just a small businessman. Where would such wealth come from? Moreover, that woman, Shin Yan Tong, is as docile as a cat. How could she possibly be the CEO of a conglomerate? Fu Si-Han didn't take it seriously and continued drinking. Suddenly, the lights in the hall dimmed, and the spotlight shifted toward the door. A host walked onto the stage, his voice loud and clear. "Dear guests, please give the warmest applause as we welcome the Chief Executive Officer of Shin Group, Ms. Shin Yan Tong." The wine glass in Fu Si-Han's hand nearly slipped. Shin Yan Tong. He suddenly looked up, staring toward the doorway. The main door opened slowly, and a woman walked in. She wore a sharply cut black suit dress, her hair gathered into a high bun, exposing a long neck and delicate collarbones. Her makeup was clean and sharp, with a cold aura between her brows and eyes, like a drawn sword, sharp and beautiful. Her tailored bodyguards followed behind her, stepping in unison with imposing presence. All eyes in the hall are on her, and whispers ripple around. Is this the CEO of the Shin Group? Young. I've heard her background is deep, and she uses ruthless methods. She has merged 6 companies within 3 months. She's really beautiful. Is she married? Fu Xian stood in the corner as if someone had pressed a point on him. He couldn't move at all. He stared at that woman intently, his pupils trembling violently. Was that Shin Yantong? Impossible. The Shin Yantong he knew was the small woman busy in the kitchen, wearing an apron, the one who wouldn't even speak loudly, the soft persimmon, the useless man who had driven her away for 3 years and hadn't dared mutter a single complaint. The woman in front of him exuded such a powerful aura that all the men present avoided meeting her gaze, and her footsteps stomped as if they were stepping on someone's heart. Is this the Shin Yentong he knows? Shin Yentong walked to the center of the hall, took the microphone handed to him by the host, and smiled faintly. That smile was so faint, almost imperceptible in its curvature. "Hello, everyone. I am Shin Yentong. Thank you all for coming tonight. As for the development of the Shin Group here locally, I hope you will continue to take care of us." The voice was not loud, yet it echoed clearly throughout the entire hall. When Fu Sibing heard this voice, a chill ran down his spine. He was far too familiar with this voice. Countless nights, she stood at the door of the bedroom and softly asked him, "Will you come home for dinner today?" Countless mornings. Before he left, she whispered, "Be careful on the road." But at this moment, that voice no longer carried the tenderness and meekness of the past. What remains is only indifference and a sense of distance. Shin Yentong finished speaking, handed the microphone back to the host, and turned to talk with the person beside her. Someone went up to toast, and she politely touched cups and took only a small taste. Someone introduced the project, and she listened attentively, nodding occasionally. She was like a natural superior, poised, appropriate, and meticulous. Fu Si-hong didn't know how he ended up in front of her. When he recovered from the shock, he was already standing in front of her. Shin Yen-tong looked up at him. That gaze was calm, as if looking at a stranger. Fu Si-hong opened his mouth, and his throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton. He couldn't speak. Shin Yen-tong spoke first, polite yet distant. "Who is this?" An assistant beside her hurriedly introduced. "President Shen. This is Fu Si-hong, president of the Fu Group." Shin Yen-tong nodded slightly. "President Fu, I have heard of you for a long time. Nice to meet you," she says. "Nice to meet you." She actually used the phrase, "nice to meet you," toward him. They are a married couple, a couple who have obtained marriage license and lived under the same roof for 3 years. But now the look she gave him was colder than if she were looking at a stranger on the roadside. Fu Si-hong finally found his voice, his throat terribly dry. "Yen-tong." Shin Yen-tong interrupted him. "Mr. Fu, please call me Mrs. Shen or Miss Shin. We are not familiar." Not familiar. These 2 words were like a slap landing hard on Fu Si-hong's face. There were already people around watching them, and whispers grew louder. Fu Si-hong forcibly restrained the churn in his heart. Lowering his voice, he said, "Yen-tong, can we find a place to talk?" Shen Yen-tong looked at him and suddenly smiled. That smile was very shallow to the point of being perfunctory toward a tourist selling insurance. "President Fu, there's nothing worth discussing between us. If there's a business collaboration, you can contact my secretary. If it's personal matter." She paused, her voice turning cold. "There are no personal matters between us." Having said that, Shin Yen-tang turned to leave. Fu Si-hong grabbed her wrist with one hand. There was a hint of pleading in his voice, one that even he hadn't noticed. "Yen-tang, don't leave, please." Shen Yen-tang looked down at the wrist he had seized, then lifted her head, her eyes cold as winter ice water. "President Fu, please let go." Her voice was not loud, yet carried an undeniable force. Fu Si-hong's hand stiffened in place. The bodyguard behind Shin Yen-tang stepped forward at once, standing between the 2 of them. "Sir, please release us." "President Shen." The bodyguard's voice was deep and powerful, carrying a clear warning. Fu Si-hong had to release his grip. Shen Yen-tang rubbed the reddened wrist he had clenched and left without looking back. The surrounding crowd automatically parted to make a path, watching her walk toward the other side of the hall. Fu Si-hong stood in place, watching her upright figure disappear into the crowd. The words she spoke still echoing in his ears. The line, "We are not familiar, not familiar." His wife telling him not familiar. Fu Si-hong suddenly felt like a joke. A huge joke. He picked up the glass, downed the entire drink in one gulp, and his throat burned hotly. The secretary walked over cautiously. "President Fu, are you all right?" Fu Si-hong paid him no attention. His gaze, she was chatting and laughing with another business magnate. Her brows and eyes curved, her smile so radiant, that radiant smile he had never seen in 3 years. It wasn't that she had never smiled. He had never looked at it seriously. Chapter 6. The humiliation at the dinner party. The party was halfway through, and a circle had formed around Shin Yen-tang. Everyone was eager to chat with the newly crowned businesswoman powerhouse. Some offered business cards, some discussed collaborations, and some simply wanted to curry favor. Shin Yen-tang handles everyone with ease, neither appearing approachable nor making people feel distant. Fu Si-hong stood by the bar, not far away, drinking cup after cup, his eyes never leaving Shin Yen-tang. He wanted to walk over, but the 4 bodyguards beside her blocked him like 4 walls, and he couldn't get close at all. Just then, the door to the hall was pushed open again. Xiao Wanqing walked in wearing a royal blue evening dress with exquisite makeup on her face and holding a limited edition bag in her hand. She spotted Fu Si-hong at a glance and stepped forward quickly in high heels. "Siang, Why didn't you answer my calls? I dialed several times and you didn't pick up. Xiao Wanqing pouted, her tone playful. Fu Xiang frowned. Why are you here? Xiao Wanqing hooked his arm. I know you're here tonight. I came to find you. I've missed you. Fu Xihang wanted to shake her off, but she held on tightly. Xiao Wanqing's gaze swept around the hall and suddenly fixed. She saw Shen Yentang. Xiao Wanqing's eyes widened suddenly, a flash of shock crossing her face, soon turning into jealousy and anger. That woman is Shen Yentang. Xiao Wanqing's voice became sharp. How is she here? What is she wearing? When did she become? Xiao Wanqing's words were left unfinished because she noticed the people around Shen Yentang. Those people were all prominent local entrepreneurs, the type who are hard to invite even for a visit. But now they all crowded around Shen Yentang, as diligent as bees around a flower. Xiao Wanqing's expression turned unpleasant. She released Fu Xichang's arm, picked up her bag, and walked toward Shen Yentang. Fu Xihang stretched out his hand to stop her, but failed to prevent it. Xiao Wanqing walked up to Shen Yentang, and the smile on her face was so fake it could drip oil. Oh, isn't this Shen Yentang? Long time no see. Shen Yentang turned her head, and upon seeing Xiao Wanqing, her expression changed not at all. Miss Xiao, long time no see. Xiao Wanqing glanced at her from head to toe, and with a sardonic tone said, I heard you. Shen Yentang ran away from home. How did you end up here? This wine party isn't somewhere just anyone can enter. You wouldn't have secretly snuck in, would you? The people around them quieted down, their eyes sweeping back and forth between the two of them. Shen Yentang smiled slightly, his tone neither warm nor cold. Miss Xia is joking. Tonight's wine party is hosted by the Shin Group. As the CEO of the Shin Group, if I can't even get into my own venue, that would really be a joke. Xiao Wanqing's face suddenly changed. What did you say? You're the CEO of the Shin Group. How is that possible? What gives? You're the right. Shen Yentang calmly took a folder from his assistant, opened it, and handed it to Xiao Wanqing to read. Miss Xia, this is the Shin Group's business registration documents. The legal representative's name is very clearly written as Shen Yentang. Do you want me to have a lawyer explain it to you? Xia Wanqing looked at the document, her face alternately turning pale and then white. A low laugh rang out around. Xia Wanqing bit her lip in unwillingness. So, what if you're the CEO? Aren't you still an abandoned wife, dumped by a man? As soon as these words were spoken, the temperature in the whole hall dropped by several degrees. Shen Yentang looked at Xiao Wanqing with a calm, emotionless gaze. Getting dumped by a man. Shen Yentang laughed softly. Miss Xia, are you talking about Fu Xiang? Xia Wanqing lifted her chin. Isn't it? We've been married for 3 years. He didn't even glance at you once. And in the end, you just left in a huff. Shen Yentang placed the wine cup down calmly, voice as steady as if she were talking about someone else's business. Miss Xia, let me straighten out the timeline for you. First, my marriage to Fu Xiang was an arranged match between our parents. Second, Fu Xiang and I have been living apart for more than 2 years. Our relationship had long since broken down. Third, I initiated the divorce, and I signed the divorce agreement 3 years ago. She paused, looking into Xia Wanqing's eyes, and word by word said, So, it's not that I was dumped by him, it's that I don't want him anymore. The sentence exploded like a bomb at the banquet. People around began to whisper to each other, the discussions buzzing. Xia Wanqing's face flushed red. She hadn't expected Shen Yentang to be so direct, so unmerciful. She opened her mouth to refute, but found she couldn't utter anything forceful at all because every word Shen Yentang spoke was a fact at this moment. Fu Xihong didn't know when he had walked over. He stood between the two of them, glancing at Xia Wanqing, then at Shen Yentang. Shen Yentang met his gaze, and his expression remained completely unchanged. But Zaya Wanqing grabbed Fu Sicheng's arm with a tearful tremor in her voice. Sicheng, look at her. She publicly humiliated me. Fu Sicheng did not look at Zaya Wanqing. He kept his gaze on Shin Niantong, his eyes complicated like a tangle of threads. Niantong, listen to me. Shin Niantong lifted his hand to interrupt him. President Shen. I already said it. Call me President Shen. Fu Sihong's atoms apple bobbed up and down. President Shen. There is a business I want to discuss with you. Shin Niantong raised an eyebrow. What business? Fu Sicheng took a deep breath. The Shin Group is recently acquiring some local industries, and I have a project that is very suitable for cooperation with the Shin Group. Can we find a place to discuss it in detail? Shin Niantong glanced at him, a slight smile curving at the corners of her mouth. That smile carried a trace of barely their mockery. President Fu, I did come today to look for a partner, but she deliberately stretched the voice. The Fu Group is not within my considerations. Fu Sicheng's face went pale. Why? Shin Niantong tilted her head slightly, her voice not loud, but loud enough for everyone nearby to hear clearly. Because the financial status of the Fu Group is too poor. The debt ratio is as high as 70%, and the performance has been, and for nearly half a year. And she glanced at Xiao Wanqing. Mr. Fu's private life is too chaotic. I don't like working with unprofessional people. These words were spoken without mercy, essentially pulling Fu Sihong's face off and trampling it on the ground. A chorus of gasps ran through the surroundings. Fu Sihong looked as displeased as if he had eaten a fly. He never expected that the woman who had once catered to him, who didn't even dare to raise her voice, would publicly demean him in front of the most influential people in the city until he was worth nothing. Xiao Wanqing could not hold back any longer. She rushed forward, pointing at Shen Yan Tang's nose and cursing. Shin Yan Tang, what are you anyway? You're just flaunting yourself here because your family is rich. Do you think you're so powerful? Aren't you just a pair of worn shoes that someone has stepped on? The entire hall fell silent in an instant. Everyone's eyes were on Xiao Wanqing, some surprised, some eager for the show, some delighted by the misfortune. Shin Yan Tang wasn't angry. She didn't even furrow her brows. She simply turned slowly, took a glass of red wine from a bodyguard, and sipped it lightly. Then she smiled. That smile was cold. Miss Xiao, what did you just say? I didn't hear clearly. Say it again. Xiao Wanqing took a step back in fear of her smile, but she still forced herself to say, I tell you, you're a worthless old shoe, a shoe worn by Fu Sihong. Shin Yan Tang set the wine glass on the table slowly, straightening her cuffs in an unhurried manner. Then she raised her hand and gave a slap with a crisp, resounding. The sound echoed through the entire hall. Xiao Wanqing's head tilted harshly to one side from the beating, and 5 red finger marks instantly appeared on her face. She covered her face, incredulous, looking at Shen Yan Tang. You dare to hit me? Shen Yan Tang shrugged, tone indifferent. So what if I hit you? Xiao Wanqing, I'm telling you, I don't want Fu Sihong anymore. That doesn't give you the right to insult me at will. My marriage with him was ended by me. You've stayed by his side for so long and didn't even gain a formal status. What right do you have to stand here and challenge me? Tears burst from Xiao Wanqing's eyes, and she turned around and threw herself into Fu Sicheng's arms, crying until she was out of breath. Shi Hung, look at her. She hit me. You have to stand up for me. Fu Sicheng stood there, motionless. He did not push away Xiao Wanqing, nor did he speak up for her. He just stared at Shen Yan Tang with something in his eyes that he couldn't explain or understand. Shen Yan Tang watched the scene, and his face showed no ripple of emotion. She picked up the wine glass on the table and held it up slightly toward Fu Shihong. President Fu, your eyesight isn't very good. With that, she turned and left. Her bodyguards followed closely behind her like four moving towers, keeping her firmly in the center. Fu Shihong looked at her back. His lips moved, but in the end he said nothing. The woman in his arms, Xiao Wanqing, was still crying, her makeup ruined with running eyeliner and mascara all over her face, looking extremely embarrassed. Fu Shihong lowered his head to look at her for a moment, suddenly feeling an incomparable aversion. He pushed Xiao Wanqing away and left without looking back. Xiao Wanqing stood alone in place, the slap mark on her face burning hot, the gazes of those around her stabbing her like knives. She held her face, bit her lips, her eyes filled with hatred. Xin Yentang, just you wait. Chapter 7. The truth 5 years ago when Fu Shihong chased out of the hotel. Shen Yentang had already gotten into the car. It was a black stretch luxury car with the windows tightly shut and the inside was not visible. Fu Shihong pounded on the car window, his voice hoarse. Yentang, come out. Let's talk. A thin gap slowly lowered in the window and Xin Yentang's voice came from inside, cold as the winter wind. President Fu, we have nothing more to talk about. Yes, we do have. Fu Shihong's voice almost pleaded. These 3 years I wronged you. I know I was wrong. Give me a chance to make it up to you. Okay. A light chuckle came from the car window. Make it up to me. Fu Shihong, what can you use to compensate me? I'm willing to do anything. Anything. Xin Yentang's voice suddenly grew cold. Then I'll ask you one thing. How did my mother die 5 years ago? Fu Shihong was stunned. What did you say? The car window rolled down a bit more, and Xin Yentang's face appeared. There were no tears in her eyes, only a bone-chilling cold. 5 years ago, my mother Shenling Xiu died in a car accident. The driver at fault in that accident was someone from your Fu family. Do you know about this? Fu Shihong's mind buzzed, a blank space opening up. He doesn't know. He had no idea about this matter at all. I don't know. Yentang, I really don't know. Xin Yentang interrupted him. You don't know. It's okay. Let me tell you. She pushed open the car door and slowly stepped out. Her high heels clicked on the ground, each sound like striking Fu Shihong's heart. 5 years ago, my mom was walking on the street when she was hit by a runaway car. The driver of that car was your mother Zhao Guilan's far relative's nephew. He drank, drove, and hit someone. Then your mom paid money to save him, covering up the incident. My mom died on the spot, and that responsible driver didn't even stay for a full month of detention before being released. Xin Yentang's eyes reddened, but she gritted her teeth and refused to let any tears fall. Do you know why I married you? It's not for an alliance and not for business. My dad told me that if I didn't marry you, your mom would send that hit-and-run driver abroad, and I would never be able to find him in my lifetime. I married you to find evidence, to seek justice for my mother. Fu Shihong's legs went weak, leaning against the car door. He looked as though all his energy had been drained. You mean my mom? Your mother, Zhao Guilan, with money and connections, sheltered a murderer. Xin Yentang's voice was frighteningly calm. That murderer is her own nephew. To him, my mother's life is less important than his nephew's 3 years of prison meals. Fu Shihong opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but found he could say nothing at all. Xin Yentang continued, For these 3 years, I've been at your house, cooking for you, cleaning for you, fawning on you like a dog. Do you think it's because I love you? I tell you, Fu Shihong, every time I smile at you, every time I stand in the kitchen to stew soup for you, every night I wait for you to come home, I'm nauseated. As she spoke, she suddenly laughed. That smile was as pale as a flower about to wither. But later, I really gave my heart to you. Fu Shihong lifted his head suddenly. Xin Yentang looked into his eyes, her voice trembling slightly. I tell myself that maybe your mother's actions have nothing to do with you. Maybe if I am good enough, you'll look back at me. Maybe one day you'll fall in love with me. We'll have our own child, a normal home. Then I can lay down the hatred. I can forgive everything. Her tears finally fell, one by one, striking the ground. But you didn't. You never looked at me properly once. You have Xiao watching outside. You don't even remember our wedding anniversary. The 3 years I gave you. You wasted them all. Wasted on another woman. Fu Si Chung reached out to hug her. His voice choked with emotion. Nian Tang. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Xin Yan Tang took a step back. Dodging his hand, she wiped away her tears and regained that indifferent, emotionless expression. I found the evidence the day before yesterday. Your mother, Zhao Guilan, was taken away for investigation on charges of aiding and abetting. That accident driver has also been brought to justice. These 3 years, I was waiting for this day. Fu Si Han stiffened all over as if struck by lightning. You've been investigating all along. Yes, from the day I married into your family. I have been watching you. You think I cook in the kitchen every day, but I'm actually gathering all of your mother's leverage. You think I stay up late at night waiting for you, but I'm actually organizing the evidence. You think I'm a fool who only does housework, but I am more clear-headed than anyone. Xin Yentang looked at Fu Sicheng's pale face and said word by word, Fu Sicheng, I don't owe you anything. These 3 years, I endured all the grievances or all the cold looks just for today. Your mother is in prison. Your company is about to fall. And your Xiao Wanqing is nothing more than a woman who covets your money. You have nothing left. She turned around, pulled open the car door, and sat inside. Fu Si-chung rushed forward to stop her, but was pushed aside by a bodyguard. The window rolled back up, cutting off his line of sight. The car slowly started and pulled away from the hotel. Fu Si-ching knelt on the ground, watching the car disappear into the night. 5 years ago, he was unaware of it, but his mother, with one life to spare, forced Xin Yantang to marry him. And during those 3 years, he never treated her well for a single day. He even had another woman outside. What did he have to compensate with? What does he use to pay back? Fu Si-cheng slumped on the ground, the wind blowing in, cold to the bone. But his heart was colder because he finally understood that Shan Yan Tang leaving him wasn't because she didn't love him, because it hurt too much. The pain was so great that even love turned into hate. Chapter 8. The Fu Group Crisis. Over the next month, the Fu Group seemed to have been hollowed out from within, and problem after problem surfaced. First, Zhao Guilan, the mother of Fu Sihan, was formally arrested on charges of sheltering a suspect, and several high-level executives of the Fu Group were also involved in the case immediately afterwards. Explosive online disclosures about the Fu Group's tax evasion and improper practices spread rapidly, causing its stock price to plummet. Then several major shareholders of the Fu Group sold their shares simultaneously, and there were widespread buyouts of Fu Group stock in the market. By the time Fu Sihing reacted, someone already held 32% of the Fu Group, making them the second largest shareholder after him. And that person is Xin Yentong. Xin Yentong Xin Group, in just 1 month, secretly acquired a large portion of shares of the Fu Group through more than a dozen shell companies. Some of the shareholders who were eager to sell were bought off by Xin Yentong, and others were frightened off by the black material Xin Yentong held. In short, when Fu Si-chin sat in the conference room and saw Xin Yentong walk in with her legal team, he finally understood completely. This woman not only wants to leave him, she wants to ruin him. President Xin, what do you mean by this? Fu Si-hing sat in the main seat of the conference room, his face pale with anger. Xin Yentong sat down. Opposite him, behind her 5 lawyers in tailored suits stood President Fu. I currently hold 32% of the Fu Group's shares, which has surpassed her 30% stake. According to corporate law, I have the right to demand an extraordinary general meeting to re-elect the board. Fu Si-hing suddenly stood up. Are you dreaming? The Fu family is my family's business. Why do you think you can intervene? Xin Yentong read through the documents on the desk with unhurried calm. His tone as steady as if reciting a textbook. President Fu. The Fu Group is a publicly listed company, not some family business. The more shares you hold, the more say you have. You understand this, right? Fu Sihing's fist clenched with a sharp crack, the veins on his temples bulging. Xin Yentong. What exactly do you want to do? Xin Yentong looked up at him. His eyes held no hatred, no glee, only a calm indifference. What do I want to do? Fu Xing. I want your company to end up with nothing, just like your people. This sentence was like a knife, piercing Fu Xing's heart hard. He took a shaky step, bracing the table before he could stand steady. The atmosphere in the meeting room was as tense as a fully stretched string, and the other executives dared not utter a word. Shernyen Tang stood up, walked to the window with his back to everyone. Fu Siheng, your mother used my mother's life to force me to marry you. In our 3-year marriage, you never treated me as a person. You let Xiao Wanqing ride on my head, and you made me hang my head in front of the entire city. Do you think Shernyen Tang is a soft persimmon that you can crush at will? She turned around, her gaze as sharp as a blade. Now it's my turn. Shernyen Tang's legal team began to read the petitions one by one. First, it calls for re-electing the board of directors of the Fu family group. Second, it calls for a comprehensive audit of the Fu family group's financial situation over the past 5 years. Third, it calls for holding Fu Siheng responsible for dereliction of duty in several major investment projects. Each one, like a knife, cuts into Fu Siheng's flesh, one cut after another. Fu Siheng's assistant, Xiao Qin, stood nearby, sweating coldly. He whispered to Fu Siheng, President Fu, if all these terms pass, you may be expelled from the board and may even face criminal liability. Fu Siheng said nothing, his eyes fixedly staring at Shernyen Tang, the woman who used to cook for him in the kitchen, the woman who used to wait for him to come home late at night, the woman whom he had neglected for 3 years now. She stood there, determined to take everything away from him. Nyen Tang. Fu Siheng's voice was hoarse to an unbelievable degree. Nyen Tang, listen to me. I really don't know about your mother's matters. I beg you, for the sake of us as a married couple, spare the Fu family. This is my father's lifelong effort. Shernyen Tang looked at him and suddenly smiled. That smile was very light as a feather. A married couple. Shishi these for characters, as if savoring a joke. Sifu Hang, you say we're a married couple. Do we count as a married couple? Have we slept in the same bed and shared a pillow for one night? Have you ever called me wife? Have you taken me to meet your friends? Have you stayed with me for 1 minute when I was sick? Each question felt like a slap landing on Sifu Hang's face. He opened his mouth, but not a single word could come out. Xin Yentong picked up the files on the desk, patted them, and threw them in front of him. You're only now talking to me about us being a married couple. It's too late. Fu Sahan, I've given you a chance. I've given you 3 years. You wasted every single one of those chances with your own hands. She turned to leave. Fu Sahan suddenly dropped to his knees with a thud. Everyone in the meeting room was stunned. The president of the dignified Fu group knelt in front of so many people for a woman. Fu Siheng knelt on the ground, his eyes reddened, his voice trembling so much that he could hardly speak. Nyen Tang, I beg you to spare the Fu group. Whatever you want, I'll give you. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I'll give you all the shares under my name. I'll give you all my assets. As long as you don't ruin the Fu group, I'll agree to anything. Xin Yentong paused, lowered her head, and looked at Fu Siheng kneeling on the ground. The man who had once looked down on her, who had taken her for granted, is now kneeling in front of her begging her to spare him. She should feel elated, but she doesn't. She only feels disgust. Fu Siheng, get up. Xin Yentong's voice was flat, Kneeling here will only make me feel more disgusted. Fu Si-hang raised his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. Yen Tang, listen carefully. Xin Yentang's voice was cold as ice. The Fu group, I am taking it. You, I also want you to be ruined in reputation. This is what your Fu family owes to the Xin family, owes to my mother. Today, I will take it all back with interest. After Az finished speaking, she walked away without looking back. The sound of high heels echoed in the corridor, step by step, like tolling bells. Fu Si-hong NOV on the ground, watching her back disappear at the doorway. He slowly stood up. His legs went weak, and he toppled back into the chair. The whole person seemed to be drained of all strength, lying there limp with a hollow gaze. Xiao Chun walked over cautiously. President Fu, are you all right? Fu Si-chin did not speak. He just stared at the document, left by Xiao Chun-tong, looking at it for a long time. On the first page of the document, a bold line was clearly written: Fu Group Equity Acquisition and Restructuring Plan. The signature below is Xiao Chun-tong's 3 characters, graceful and strong. Every stroke reveals determination. Fu Si-hong suddenly remembered an evening 3 years ago, the day he rarely came home for a meal, and Xiao Chun-tong cooked a tableful of dishes. He was in the middle of eating when he took a call and left. Glancing back as he walked away, Xiao Chun-tong stood at the doorway, still holding the bowl of soup she had ladled for him. She said to him, "Travel safely." That was the last time he heard her say, "Travel safely." After that, she never said it again. Chapter 9. The Collapse of the Xia Family. Fu Si-hong had not yet recovered from the company's crisis when another blockbuster piece of news struck. Xia Donghai, the father of Xia Wanqing, was taken away for investigation by authorities on charges including huge tax evasion, bribery, illegal fundraising, and other offenses. Once the news spread, the Xia family was in an uproar. Xia Wanqing ran around like she had gone mad, calling every friend she knew for help. But not a single person was willing to answer her calls. Those who used to fawn over her and flatter her now hide faster than rabbits. Xia Wanqing had no choice, and eventually had to come to Fu Si-ching. When she rushed into Fu Si-ching's office, he was sitting there in a daze. The documents on the desk were in a mess. The ashtray was packed with cigarette butts, and the whole office was filled with smoke. Xiao Wanqing ran over and grabbed his arm, crying with tears all over her face. "Si-hung, please help my dad. I beg you to help my dad. He was wronged." Fu Si-hung looked at her, his eyes devoid of pity, only tiredness. "Wrongly accused Xiao Wanqing. About your father's matter. Do you think I don't know?" Xiao Wanqing froze. Fu Si-hung took a stack of documents from the drawer and threw them on the desk. "Your father's Adam High's company has evaded taxes totaling up to 200 million over the past 5 years. He also bribed his way to win several government projects. These pieces of evidence are enough to put him in prison for 10 years. Xiao Wanqing's face suddenly turned white. How did you know these things?" Fu Si-hung drew in a long breath of smoke and slowly exhaled. "It was Shan Yentang who told me. She has compiled all of your father's criminal evidence and sent me a copy." Xiao Wanqing's eyes widened to the size of saucers. "Xin Yentang, why would she target my dad?" Fu Si-hung offered a wry smile. "Because your dad was involved in that car accident's aftermath back then. He helped your mom, Zhao Guilin, cover up the case and pocketed a lot of kickbacks from it. Xin Yentang has been investigating for so many years. She won't let your dad go." Xiao Wanqing slumped to the ground, her lips trembling, unable to say a word. She suddenly seemed to have thought of something and crawled over to hug Fu Si-hung's leg. "Si-hung, save my dad. Go beg Xin Yentang to let my dad go. Isn't she hating you? Tell her that whatever you want, I'll give it. She wants the Xiao family's company. I'll give it to her. She wants money. I'll give it all as long as you make her spare my dad." Fu Si-hung looked down at her and suddenly found it ridiculous. This woman, who once strutted before him, sneering get up. Fu Si Han's voice was calm. Xin Yen Tong won't spare your dad. She has waited for this day for 5 years. Xiao Wanqing cried and shook her head. It won't happen. She won't be so ruthless. Si Han, go and beg her for me. I'll do anything. If I leave you, I will never appear before her again. I'll go abroad, never come back, as long as she lets my dad go. Fu Si Han looked at her, then suddenly smiled. That laughter was full of self-mockery. You think if you leave me, she will spare your father. Xiao Wanqing, do you really think you are so important in her eyes? Xiao Wanqing froze. Fu Si Han stood up, walked to the window, with his back to her. Xin Yen Tong doesn't want you to leave me. What she wants is for your father to face legal punishment, for the Fu family to pay the price. What concerns you and me is, in her eyes, not worth mentioning at all. Xiao Wanqing slumped to the ground, tears streaming uncontrollably. She recalls the first time she met Xin Yen Tong. It was at a party. At that time, Xin Yen Tong had just married Fu Si Han not long ago, wearing a white dress, standing in a corner, quiet and unobtrusive, as if she did not exist. She deliberately stepped in front of Xin Yen Tong, resting her arm on Fu Si Han's sleeve, and smiled sweetly. Si Han, is this your wife? She looks quite pretty. Fu Si Han glanced at Xin Yen Tong once, and said nothing. Xin Yen Tong simply smiled and said, Hello, Miss Xia. Back then, Xiao Wanqing thought Xin Yen Tong was a soft persimmon to be squeezed. It wasn't. Now she knows that wasn't a soft persimmon at all, but a sleeping snake. When you don't touch her, she remains quiet. Once you provoke her, she will thrust her venomous fangs deep into your bones. Xiao Wanqing crawled up from the ground, wiped away her tears, and staggered out of the office. She took a taxi to Mr. Shen Yen Tong's company. Reception blocked her, saying that President Shen was not accepting visitors. Xiao Wanqing charged in like crazy and was restrained by a security guard and thrown out. She sat on the ground without caring about her image, shouting at the building, Xin Yen Tang, you come out. I have something to tell you. The doors of the building finally opened. Xin Yen Tang walked out, followed by bodyguards and a secretary. She wore a white suit, her hair loose, and she looked cold and noble. Xiao Wanqing rushed forward, but the security guard stopped her, and she knelt on the ground with a thump. Xin Yen Tang, I beg you to spare my father. I will give you anything you want. I will kowtow to you. Xiao Wanqing knelt on the ground, kowtowing one by one, her forehead hitting the concrete, drawing blood. Xin Yen Tang looked at her, her eyes unshaken, without any fluctuation once. Xiao Wanqing was such a proud person, showing off in front of her, strutting in front of her now. This woman is kneeling before her, kowtowing to beg for mercy. If it were in the past, Xin Yen Tang might have softened at heart, but not anymore, because she has seen too many uglinesses of humanity. She has seen Xiao Wanqing smiling with deceit in her eyes in front of her, heard her talking badly behind her back, and seen her raising her arm with Fu Siheng, casting a smug look at her. This woman does not deserve sympathy. Xiao Wanqing, get up. Xin Yen Tang said, your father's matter is not something I can influence. The law will give him a just verdict. Xiao Wanqing raised her head, her face covered in tears, a crusted wound on her forehead, blood mixing with tears, looking extremely desperate. You, Xin Yen Tang, the one you hate is me, for I snatched your husband. You rush at me. Don't harm my father. Xin Yen Tang crouched down, face to face with Xiao Wanqing. Miss Xiao, you're mistaken. I don't hate you for taking Fu Siheng. I should even thank you. If it weren't for you, I might have remained in that hellish family a few years longer. She stood up, looking down on Xiao Wanqing from a height. Your dad's matter has nothing to do with me. He committed a crime, and the evidence is irrefutable. I've simply handed the evidence to the person who should receive it. As for how the final judgment will be, that is a legal matter. After speaking, Xin Yentong turned and walked into the building. Xia Wanqing knelt outside the door, crying heartbreakingly. She wanted to chase after him, but was stopped by the security guard. She knelt at the gate, attracting a crowd of onlookers. Some took photos, some talked, some shook their heads and sighed. The once dazzling heiress of the Xia family is now kneeling on the street, like a stray dog, and the instigator of all this, Xin Yentong, sits calmly inside the building drinking coffee. She glances at Xia Wanqing kneeling outside the window and sets the cup down. No expression whatsoever. 5 years ago, when her mother died under the wheels, her tears had long since dried up. In these 5 years, she learned what it means to be strong, what it means to endure, and what it means to retaliate with retaliation. Xia Wanqing is on her path of revenge, merely a small supporting character. Chapter 10. His Retribution. 3 months later, the Fu Group's extraordinary general meeting of shareholders was held as scheduled. When Shen Yentong led her team into the conference room, Fu Xicheng was already sitting there. He looked 10 years older than 3 months ago, with quite a bit of white in his hair and wrinkles at the corners of his eyes that were deep as if carved with a knife. The suit was still the same suit, but on him it seemed empty and hollow, and the whole person had slimmed down a bit. Shen Yentong sat down opposite him, and the two of them exchanged a glance across the long conference table. Fu Xihong's eyes were filled with fatigue and reluctance, while Shen Yentong's gaze was as calm as a still pool. The meeting began. Shen Yentong's team of lawyers presented the motions one by one. Remove from the position of chairman. Reorganize the board. Conduct a comprehensive audit of the Fu Group. Hold accountable for dereliction of duty in several major projects. Each proposal has the support of the majority of shareholders, because Xin Yantong holds 32% of the shares, plus several small shareholders. She has one over. She already commands more than 50% of the voting rights. Fu Xihong sat there saying nothing. He knew that nothing he said would make a difference. When the last proposal passed, Fu Xihong's assistant, Xia Chen, came over and whispered, "President Fu, your chairmanship has been formally revoked according to the company bylaws. You need to move out of the chairman's office within 3 days." Fu Xihong nodded, his expression blank. He stood up and glanced at Xin Yantong. Xin Yantong was also looking at him. The two people's gazes met in the air, separated by the entire distance of the meeting room. Fu Xihong's lips moved slightly as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he said nothing at all and turned to walk out. Xin Yantong watched him go with no expression on her face. When Xia Chen chased after him, Fu Xihong had already reached the elevator lobby. He leaned against the wall, his hands on his knees, his shoulders trembling violently. Xia Chen approached cautiously. "President Fu, are you all right?" Fu Xihong lifted his head, his eye sockets red. "Little Chin, you said if I had looked at her one more time 3 years ago, would things have been different?" Xia Chen opened his mouth, not knowing how to answer. The elevator doors opened. Fu Xihong walked in and pressed the button for the first floor. In the instant the elevator doors closed, he seemed to hear Xin Yantong's voice, but upon listening closely, there was nothing at all. Maybe it was an illusion. Fu Xihong forced a smile, burying his face in his hands. 3 days later, Fu Xihong moved out of the Fu Group headquarters building. When he stepped out of the gate, a crowd of reporters surrounded him with long guns and short cannons aimed at him. "Mr. Fu, what is your view on the acquisition of the Fu Group by the Xin Group? Mr. Fu, does your marital relationship with a Ms. Xin Yantong affect this acquisition? Mr. Fu, there are online rumors that Ms. Xiao Wanjing's father has already been punished. May I ask for your response to this?" Fu Xihong lowered his head, blocked his face with a file bag, squeezed through the crowd without a word. and slipped into a taxi. The taxi drove off far, and he finally sat down the file bag, leaned back in the seat, and let out a long sigh. The driver shot him a glance in the rearview mirror and asked, "Sir, where are you going?" Fu Sihong was momentarily stunned. Where to go? Where else can he go? The villa has already been mortgaged to the bank to repay the company's debts. Xiao Wanjing has already been investigated for suspected cover-up and is in danger herself. His mother, Zhao Guolan, is waiting at the detention center for the verdict. His father, on the day he was removed from the position of chairman, was so furious that he suffered a heart attack and was admitted to the hospital. And he, Fu Sihong, the former head of the Fu Group, now has nothing left. Just open it wherever you like, Fu Sihong said, his voice hoarse to an unbelievable degree. The driver didn't ask further and started the car. The taxi wandered aimlessly through the city streets. Fu Sihong watched the rapidly receding scenery outside the window, his mind full of Shin Yintong's face. The day she first married into the Fu family, she wore a red cheongsam and smiled a little shyly, her busy silhouette in the kitchen, apron tied at the waist, sleeves rolled up to the elbows. She stands at the doorway seeing him off, holding a cup of warm water, saying, "Be careful on the road." The day he tore up the divorce agreement, she stood at the doorway of the study and said, "Fu Siqing, you have disappointed me too much." At the wine party, she wears a black suit dress and tells him, "We are not close." She is in the meeting room, throwing the documents on the table and saying, "I'll take away everything you have." Every scene is like a knife, knife after knife carving at his heart. The taxi stopped in front of a mall entrance, and there was a traffic jam ahead. Fu Sihong inadvertently looked up and saw a news broadcast on the big screen outside the mall's exterior wall. In the news, Shen Yentong stood on the stage at the press conference wearing a red dress. Beside her stood a tall man dressed in a meticulously tailored suit, one arm wrapped around her waist, the two of them looking incredibly close. A reporter asked, "President Shin, may I ask who this person by your side is?" Shin Yentong gave a slight smile, turned her head to glance at the man, and her eyes were gentle. "This is my fiancé, Lin Yifeng from the Lin Group." The whole venue was in an uproar. Reporters rushed to ask questions. "Mr. Shin, have you divorced Mr. Fu Sihong? Is there a new lover so quickly?" Shen Yentong took the microphone, her voice clear. "My marriage with Mr. Fu Sihong ended 3 months ago. The divorce had been completed. I am now single, pursuing my own happiness. Is there a problem with that?" The reporters and the audience looked at each other in disbelief. Speechless, Shen Yentong nudged Lin Yifeng's arm and smiled at the camera. That smile was incredibly bright, dazzling to the eye. Fu Sihong sat in the taxi watching Shen Yentong's smiling face on the big screen and suddenly felt a stabbing pain in his chest. That kind of pain is not the pain of being cut by a knife, nor the pain of being punched by someone. It is a hollow pain, as if a heart were dug out by someone, leaving a black hole that swallows everything. He remembered the line Shin Yentong had left for him. "Fu Sihong, I give you 3 years. 3 years have passed, and he has given her nothing. She gave him the harshest revenge. Make him fall in love with her, and then take her away forever." Fu Sihong closed his eyes, leaning back in the seat, tears silently sliding down his cheeks. The taxi driver saw it in the rearview mirror, thought he was a middle-aged man struck by a blow, and kindly handed him a pack of tissues. "Dude, lighten up. If you lose her, just find another." Fu Sihong took the tissue, not to wipe tears, but to clench it in his hand, his knuckles whitening from the pressure. The press conference on the big screen was still going on. A reporter asked Shen Yentong, "President Shen, what do you have to say about Mr. Fu Sihong's current situation?" Shen Yentong remained silent for a few seconds before picking up the microphone. Her voice was calm, free of sarcasm or hatred, filled only with a sense of relief. "I want to express my gratitude for one lesson he taught me. A woman should not remain with someone unworthy. I devoted my best 3 years to someone who wasn't worthy. Henceforth, I will reserve all my best qualities for those who are. With these words, she took Lin Yifeng's arm and turned to leave the stage. The big screen froze on her departing silhouette. The red dress, the confident gait, the straightened spine, like a flame burning, illuminating the entire stage. And on the street below the screen, a yellow taxi is stopped among the traffic. The man inside the car has tears streaming down his face. He finally understood what it means to lose something. He finally understood what it means to regret with no opportunity to make amends. He finally understood why Shan Yen Tong didn't look back when she left that night, because she knew that turning back would mean she could never walk away again. And now, he wants to turn back, but he can no longer find her silhouette. The taxi's radio suddenly started playing a song, an old one, its lyrics saying, "Later, I finally learned how to love, but you had already left, disappeared into the crowd. Later, I finally understood through tears that some people, once missed, are gone for good." Fu Si-hung buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking violently. Outside the car window, the city's neon lights light up one by one, illuminating the path of every night traveler. But his path had already grown dark. Forever dark. End of the text.